Good evening. My name is Chinemerem Joseph, and welcome to today's edition of You and the Economy. In the last edition of the program, we broke the mini-series on the interventions of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in the cocoa industry. The reasons why the Apex Bank decided to intervene in the industry, as well as the goals it seeks to achieve through the initiative, were equally advanced in that edition. You were informed that while the CBN is working on a comprehensive roadmap that will drive its intervention in the cocoa industry in a holistic manner, it had already proceeded to lay the foundation for the initiative by adding cocoa to the list of the 10 focal commodities of its hugely successful Anchor Borrowers Program, ABP. Similarly, to reposition the cocoa industry, while the roadmap is still on the drawing board, the CBN equally advanced credits as well as provided inputs to cocoa farmers to reposition the industry and begin the march towards restoring its lost glory. In today's edition of the program, we shall highlight other measures taken by the CBN and some critical stakeholders to put the cocoa industry back on a sound footing. But we shall go beyond that. For a change, we shall advocate some strong measures aggregated through our interface with critical stakeholders, which we believe the CBN should take into account to ensure that its intervention in the cocoa industry turns out a huge success. Now, sit back and relax as you watch this illuminating edition of the program on the repositioning of the cocoa industry by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
We welcome CBN to come to Akwa Ibom State and collaborate with us so that we can have supportive effort to produce more cocoa in Akwa Ibom State. We want financial support, farm input, seedling, and others equipment, farm equipment, so that we can build ourselves in making cocoa farming successful in Akwa Ibom State.
CBN, they play a vital role in this cocoa productivity.
We appreciate them and we want more of it because it has really boosted our yield. It has really reduced the stress of the farmers from looking for chemicals or looking for money to improve production this year. Really, it is a welcome idea and we appreciate them and we pray that God will continue to bless them for that idea.
As you learned in the last edition of this program, the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria, CRIN, has continued to record significant breakthroughs in developing high-yielding planting materials required to rejuvenate the cocoa industry in the country. To complement CRIN's efforts in that regard, in order to record more resounding results, the Central Bank of Nigeria has been making pesticides and other related farm inputs more accessible to cocoa farmers so that these planting materials developed by CRIN, better known as seedlings, can be properly nurtured by farmers who purchase them from CRIN. Although cocoa farmers believe more can still be done regarding the provision of farm inputs, the situation today is far better than it was previously, as most cocoa farmers now have easier and better access to these essential items, courtesy of the supportive measures by the CBN. This is in spite of the fact that the roadmap that will capture the holistic approach of the bank's intervention in the industry is still on the drawing board. It is believed that the stopgap measure of the CBN to make insecticides, pesticides, herbicides and the likes readily available to cocoa farmers will impact the industry positively and boost cocoa output. Already, it has helped marketers of the farming inputs to expand their operations and employ more hands as a result of the improved patronage they have been enjoying from cocoa farmers lately.
In the area of chemicals and other inputs, the farms were already in existence, but they needed inputs and they also needed expansion. So in all the areas concerning this, the CBN helped them to finance it. The volume improved. Yes, because with the use of adequate chemicals and enough quantity of required chemicals for the control of weeds, nematodes and all other pests, yes, we got a great improvement. So, and that automatically will lead to the increase in the number of cocoa available for the market.
This is Ilado, a cocoa producing community in the Akure North local government area of Ondo State. Ilado contributes significantly to Ondo State's coveted status as the foremost cocoa producing state in Nigeria. On this day, during the visit of a crew of You and the Economy to the Sedate community for a shoot in some cocoa farms, dark clouds gathered in the skyline foretelling the imminence of rainfall. And shortly afterwards, nature finally had its way as it begins to rain in torrents. In most farming communities, rainfall is always received with joy, especially if its intensity does not degenerate into flooding. To farmers, the waters released from above during rainfall signify showers of blessing and nature's free gift in nurturing the crops being cultivated on their farms. But to cocoa farmers in Ilado and elsewhere, rainfall presents with a bag of mixed fortunes. While the showers from above nurture crops, the rains equally disrupt one of the key activities in the cocoa production value chain. This is because when it rains for prolonged periods, it could threaten the income and livelihoods of cocoa farmers. And this is why, after ripe cocoa pods are harvested, the pods are broken open and the fresh cocoa seeds inside them extracted. Thereafter, these fresh cocoa seeds are subjected to a process of fermentation. Afterwards, they undergo the next crucial stage before they can be sold as cocoa beans, drying. At this all-important stage, cocoa farmers pray for and depend on the intense heats from long periods of sunshine to dry their fermented cocoa seeds. The seeds are spread outdoors on hard surfaces or elevated plank platforms to dry. At this stage, the seeds must not come in contact with water. Consequently, as soon as rain threatens to fall whilst cocoa seeds are out in the open undergoing drying, the seeds must be cleared, collected and evacuated with dispatch for storage. And that is what these cocoa farmers in Ilado are seen here doing as the skyline began to display signs of impending rainfall in the course of a visit of our crew to the community. In the event that the rainfall cycle in a cocoa producing community is prolonged, cocoa farmers invariably lose their cocoa seeds as they perish as a result of lack of prolonged burst of sunshine to dry the seeds. For the intervention of the CBN in the cocoa industry to succeed, therefore, it is important that the roadmap that will drive the initiative in its holistic form should provide for the development of mechanical dryers to assist cocoa farmers in drying their fermented cocoa seeds. This will make the farmers to be less reliant on sunlight, which availability cannot be guaranteed during the rainy season, to dry their cocoa seeds.
These are the cocoa cups here to undergo fermentation. You know, after this fermentation, that is when they now, after the fermentation, that is when they now dried it up. And when drying cocoa, there is limit. There is a specific moisture content it auto has. You can't just dry it or over dry it. But that is what the farmers are passing through. The farmers needed help in all these things. If there is a dryer, the farmers will be able to dry any time of the day, any time of the year, not waiting for sun. But without sun now, they cannot do their work. Those are the limitations. This is one of the reasons why the farmers needed dryer. Now that it's about raining, they are packing it inside. But supposing there's a dryer, there will be no need for all this work. So to reduce the stress of the farmers, we need dryer for them. If the government can give them a dryer here, anybody can take their cocoa down there and dry to the required moisture content. It will boost production here. It will help the farmers. It will reduce their suffering. That is why government have to come in this area to help the farmers, to reduce the stress of the farmers, to reduce so that we can maintain a good quality of cocoa, dried cocoa.
We need a dry machine during the rain season so that we cannot suffer too much. So we need a dry machine.
If your cocoa does not dry on time, it will make cocoa to become moldy. Now we have this fungi that used to grow when the thing is not properly dried, and that won't reduce the quality of cocoa bean. But if you have artificial drying equipment, where after fermentation you just put it there, it dries it within a reduced number of days, and it will eliminate the moldiness that will reduce the quality of cocoa. We can train this entrepreneur. The central bank can support them to get some of these equipment and set up their cottage industries, and from there they can pay later.
To command attractive prices in the market where they are ultimately processed into chocolates and other refined cocoa products, cocoa beans, which is the industry's name for dry cocoa seeds, must be of the right flavor. This invariably means that whatever effort is being made to boost the Nigerian farmers' output in cocoa beans and also make the beans attractive and earn good money in both the domestic and international markets, the beans must possess attractive flavor. Oftentimes, most farmers are unable to determine the flavor of their cocoa beans and sometimes end up with disappointment and shock when their seeds fail to meet the good flavor standard. But this is no longer a challenge, at least for those cocoa farmers who know where to go to verify the flavor of their cocoa beans. The Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria has come to the rescue of farmers seeking to verify the flavor of their cocoa beans and thereby attract good prices for them through this flavor laboratory run by the Institute at its Idianyure office. It is believed that when the existence of the flavor lab gets to be widely known, more cocoa farmers will key into the CBN intervention in the cocoa industry, thus helping to promote the realization of its core objectives.
The Flavor Lab is a laboratory that was funded by the World Cocoa Foundation. There are 4 of such laboratories in Africa, and Nigeria happens to be one of them. In fact, the representative of the World Cocoa Foundation visited the lab about, I think, a few months ago, and adjudged our laboratory as the best in Africa. So the Cocoa Flavor Lab is a laboratory that was designed to be able to determine the flavor of every cocoa sample The people that are buying our cocoa beans, that we export our cocoa beans to, they cherish and they know the flavor of each consignment. And they are ready to add a lot of premium to what we are selling the cocoa if they have the right flavor. So the essence of the lab is for people, that the exporters, even the big companies that are dealing with cocoa, to send their samples to our lab. We run it through our system, and we'll be able to tell them exactly this is what the flavor of the cocoa sample you are sending to us. And as time goes on, we want to move into certification of such samples that are sent to our office. So which means you are company A, you want to export your cocoa beans, you send a representative sample to us, we run it through our lab, we tell you what the flavor of that cocoa is, and then we certify it, we give you a certification, and once the importers, those who are sending the cocoa, when they see the certification, it will make your consignment to have a premium. They are ready to pay a premium for that particular consignment.
This image, a youth working on a cocoa farm, offers great assurance and speaks volumes to the progress being made in the ongoing initiative to encourage the youths in the country to take to cocoa farming. One of the reasons why output in cocoa production declined in the country is because cocoa production became a vocation for the aged. As the youths fled in droves from cocoa plantations to the towns and cities in search of white-collar jobs, the older generation, like this retiree cocoa farmer who had been into cocoa farming since the early 60s, were left to tend to cocoa plantations. And as age began to catch up with this first-generation cocoa farmers, output continued to decline as the capacity to put in long hours on cocoa plantations to generate increased output waned.
Because of the old age, I cannot go farm every day now. As before, I used to go to farm, I stay 3 days for farm, I work if I come home. But now I don't have power to go to do the work again.
Arising from the CBN interventions of 2020, there has been a noticeable change in the disposition of youths to cocoa farming, especially in Ondo State, as underscored by these images. Nonetheless, the feeling is that more still needs to be done to encourage a large number of youths to be engaged in cocoa farming. And it is believed that the much expected CBN roadmap will address that issue. Fortunately, this is one area where the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria believes it can play a significant role by driving the perception change required to encourage youths to embrace cocoa farming.
Our farmers are now old. We need to encourage youth. So CRIN can train youth to change their orientation. And you go to our major cities, you see youths using Okada to make money. If you can train them that working on cocoa, planting cocoa, that one will secure their future better than riding Okada. And mark you, I told you the other time that the gestation period had been reduced to 2 years. Within that period, they need small support. So the central bank and partner CRIN, we identify these youths, we train them, they give them small support to sustain them before cocoa will be producing. So this will bring the results of the intervention.
As it is with every crop or agricultural commodity grown on farms and plantations in the hinterland, cocoa pods and seeds too must be evacuated from the farms where they are harvested and dried to major cities where the marketing value chain for the commodity is firmly rooted. And because vast expanses of land are usually required to cultivate cocoa, most cocoa plantations are sited in the hinterland in most places where huge acres and hectares of land are easier to access. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, the road networks connecting neighboring cities to cocoa plantations and communities dealing in cocoa are usually in bad shape. This has made the task of evacuating output from those hinterland locations to neighboring towns an arduous task, resulting in the use of commercial motorcycles, better known as Okada, to evacuate cocoa sacks from farms. The development has discouraged farmers from engaging in cocoa cultivation, thus accounting for one of the reasons why output in the industry had declined. While it is not part of the mandate of the CBN to construct or repair roads, the success of its intervention in the cocoa industry may well depend on its ability to convince the core stakeholders in road construction and maintenance to discharge their statutory roles in support of its intervention in the cocoa industry more robustly.
Our road is bad. We need our government to assist us so that we can see the road can be good, so that we can carry our thing to the market.
In Akure here along Igbatoro, where my farm is, there's no road. There is no road. From Akure to Igbatoro, from Igbatoro to Edo, the road is bad. So bringing cocoa out from that place is problem.
This particular farm I mentioned to you, Model Cocoa Farm in Jubiri, is about 20 kilometers from our town, and the road is that bad. And the state government has been trying its own. At least we've constructed about 2 covers within the last 1 year, but yet the road is still very bad. If we can enjoy more of the intervention from CBN and get our road constructed, I think it will be a very good thing.
Barrow Road in some of our farm areas. So if they will impact in road construction to the farm, it will be very, very much beneficial. That is what we need.
This is an essential feature of cocoa cultivation all over the world. The application of pesticides on both the surroundings of cocoa trees as well as on the trees and the pods that germinate. The practice aims at protecting cocoa trees and the pods they bear so that both are in good health always, and also ensure that the pods turn out fine. But this practice has its downside. Unrestrained application of pesticides and other farm chemical inputs oftentimes compromise the quality of cocoa beans and leads to the rejection of the affected cocoa beans in the international market. If the CBN roadmap that will drive the bank's holistic intervention in the cocoa industry does not take this adverse trend into account, its success may be compromised. But this adverse development may not arise as CRIN is once again primed to collaborate with other key stakeholders to reverse the trend.
We have been doing a lot of training for farmers. We want to collaborate with the CBN so that we can train farmers in what we call good agricultural practices on cocoa. It's one of the major reasons why our cocoa is being rejected, the little that we produce is being rejected in international market, is this issue of pesticide residue. The Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria have the capacity to train farmers on what chemicals to use, what quantity to use, what time to spray, and this will greatly reduce the incidence of having unacceptable beans in the international market because of the high pesticide residue.
It's good to have you back again. From what you have seen in the last 2 successive editions of the program, the CBN has truly set in motion some powerful measures to reposition the cocoa industry in Nigeria. And the fact that the roadmap for driving the initiative in a holistic and more robust manner is still in the works has not deterred the bank from pursuing its objectives with remarkable single-mindedness. In the concluding episode of this mini-series, we shall look at a couple of additional measures that the CBN should consider in shaping and designing its roadmap for its intervention in the cocoa industry, so that its resolve to reposition and make the industry to regain its lost glory becomes a fait accompli. Your views and comments on this edition of the program, as well as others aired previously, are welcome. You can relay them to us by logging onto the CBN website. It's www.cbn.gov.ng, or call us on the CBN Contact Center on 0700 225 5226. We shall surely attend to you. Until next week, when we come your way with that concluding episode on the interventions of the CBN in the cocoa industry. It's bye for now.